everybody, Jennifer Schaus here, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., and thanks for joining us in our webinar today. Happy New Year to everybody. This is the beginning of the federal government fiscal new year. It's obviously October 1st, and we've got a great lineup today. It's a mix of both government and industry, and we're going to hear about best practices, and we've got it segmented by topic. So we're going to dig into some of our slides here. We don't take questions throughout the webinar, but it is being recorded. We'll send out the recording as well as the link to the slides later this afternoon once we're able to convert the recording into a MP4 file. So before we get started, just want to tell you a little bit about us. We're based in downtown Washington, D.C., and provide a variety of services for companies that are selling to the federal government. We don't deal with state and local or education, just the federal market. And so our clients typically come to us for anything from market analysis reports, business development. If it makes sense for them, we'll help them get onto the GSA schedule and manage that contract. And then also that post-award kind of back office compliance is another piece of our service. We do have a newsletter that goes out every Monday, which is perhaps how you found out about the event today. And that reaches over 23,000 subscribers, most of which I'd say 90% are probably government contractors or are government contractors. We've got some service providers and then some government personnel as well who are subscribers. We've been putting webinars on for several years, and so we now have a library of over 450 complimentary government contracting webinars, and they cover topics on anything from GSA schedules to business development, and then a lot of the legal pieces such as bid protest, FOIA requests, a little bit of everything. So you can check out all of our recordings there on the YouTube channel. What we did in, just to rewind for a moment, in 2020, we covered every part of the FAR, which is the Federal Acquisition Regulation, and those were run through sequentially. So we started with FAR Part 1 in the first part of January and then ended with FAR Part 52 in December. This year, 2021, which has flown by, we're kind of mirroring that process, and we're covering the DFARS. Those are Wednesdays at 12 o'clock, complimentary, so we're more than halfway through that series. If you want to listen to any of the recordings, you can find them on our website as well as our YouTube channel. We've also got the second Friday of every month, a new, well, it was new for this year, which is the GovCon Live QA Cafe. It's the second Friday of every month. There is a small fee to attend, which is $35. If you use the discount code DFARS, you'll get a $15 discount. Next Wednesday, we wanted to mention we do have a special, it's complimentary webinar in our COVID contracting series, and it's the vaccination guidelines for contractors and subcontractors, which recently just came out. So you can find that link to register on our website under the event section. Next year, we're covering, in the same spirit as the FAR and the DFARS, the FAR supplements. It's a webinar series. We're going to have primarily government contracts attorneys who will go through basically the agency and the department nuances that they have within their own department or agency regarding contracting and procurement. And then on that corresponding Friday, we'll have the department and agency playbook series. We're doing that in conjunction with FedMine, Archies and Meehan, and their group. So they're going to cover some of the opportunities. We're also doing this in conjunction with the McLean Group, which is a merger and acquisition outfit, and we will have government representation on most of those webinars as well. Sponsorships are available. One more thing I wanted to note is a new series we're going to launch is called the GIP. It's the Government Industry Partners. And so basically it allows you to conduct a webinar with us. We will help promote it, help you curate it. We're going to host it, we'll record it, and then we'll post your webinar on our website, YouTube channel So you can do this as a 1, 2, or 3-part series, and so this will be all about your business. So it's like today you'll present in front of a live audience, and as I mentioned, you get the recording, the registration list. So if you're targeting government contractors, this is probably a good service for you. And I want to make sure that hopefully everybody can see my screen. And so again, that service, this Government Industry Partners webinar series, is allowing you to conduct a webinar with us. Okay, just to let you know, next Friday is this GovCon Live QA Cafe series that I mentioned. So every month is a different topic. Next Friday is covering set-asides. With the folks here you see on your screen, most people that are in the government contracting sector are probably familiar with these names. And then in November, the second Friday is November 12th, and we will cover pricing. And Marcia, I believe, is joining us later today as we talk about best practices for pricing. And then we'll round out December with mergers and acquisitions with these 4 panelists. You can sign up on our website for all of these. So just go to our website, go to the GovCon Live Q&A tab, and you'll find the links there to register. And special thanks to all of our sponsors who make the event possible. And now we're going to move on to the second section, which is marketing. And first up, we've got Gillian Grossman, who has taken herself off of mute. Thank you so much. Gillian, great to have you with us today. I know your time is short, so I'm going to hop over here to your 5 best practices and give you the floor.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Hello, everybody. Very happy to be here today on this Friday afternoon talking about government marketing, which is my all-time favorite subject. So let's jump into what I believe are the best 5 practices that you can do in your government marketing efforts. The first is really ensuring that you have an integrated marketing plan. This means that you're not just doing what I call a one-hit wonder, just not doing a particular event, but you're doing a multitude of events that all tie together. But more importantly, that you are working in co-marketing. These could be with partners, they could be with OEMs that have similarities with you, so that you're all saying the same message. Very important. It's also really important to have a cohesive search engine optimization strategy. Government buyers are searching the internet long before we even know that they are in the process of starting to look at our technology. So make sure that on your website, you've got keywords that are tagged. Talk to your web team about that, so that when someone is coming in from government or even partners that are looking to partner with you, if they're typing in a particular topic that you're an expert on, we want you to be ranked at the very high level at all the Google search engines and Bing and things like that. Next is really important, try really hard to execute the majority of your federal marketing plans in the first 6 months of the calendar year. So this means between January and June. This is needed so that you can help your sales teams and business development teams affect into buying season. Once you hit that June timeframe, it's really pretty weak in trying to really get that information across so that you can affect the buying season purposes. So I would recommend that you do that, as well as making sure you've got your 2022 planning done way in advance, because a lot of the vendors that you're going to be working with to drive strong lead generation and build those databases that we need, they fill up very quickly because of that. So make sure that you're getting your plan, putting out January through June, but also planning your next fiscal year, because you're going to not have the availability of those vendors' programs that they offer if not. Content, we talk forever, content is king, we all know that. But it's really important to keep those white papers shorter than ever. Put as many graphics as you can in them now. Somebody mentioned earlier on the webinar today for capability statements. Marketers need to get involved in your company's capability statements. Very important that it's got, again, same point of voice that you want to get across. Also, keep them updated with dates. If it is a little out of date, but the content is still relevant, simply change the date on the web, on the actual document. I see so often it might say 2017 when it's actually still current, and you can just switch it up to 2021. So those are some tricks that you can do. Also, make sure that your company website, and this is primarily for those companies that do more than just government, but make sure that if you do have a corporate office, that you've got very clear visibility on your website that you do sell to the federal government. I had some chief procurement officers on our radio program at Federal News Network recently, and they all said that you know, when it gets to be crunch time and they're having to go to a website to look for contract numbers and they're not there, it's frustrating to them. Or they need to confirm that you really do business in the federal government, and if they can't easily find or cannot find at all, it's not a federal business. The gentleman talking about this from Department of Homeland Security kind of took a piece of paper and threw it behind his back and said, we don't have time, we toss it and we go to the next vendor. So that's my last point for you.
Great, thank you so much. And as far as a quick question over to you, what's the #1 suggestion you always give to companies that want to market and sell to the federal government?
Well, I'm singing from the same hymn book from Nicole. She mentioned the strategic plans. Every single government agency has to publish a strategic plan. You can download these from their websites. And I preach all the time to marketers, please read those, because it's pretty much building out your marketing plan mapped to your company's products and solutions and services. So get to know intimately the agency's strategic plan. It tells you a roadmap of where they're going.
Super, thank you. Great points, and thanks for kicking off the marketing section here for us. Appreciate your time today, Luann. Thank you.
All righty, have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks. Next up, we've got Mark Amtower, well-known name in government contracting. Mark, thanks so much for joining us today.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks. And I'm going to hop over here to your 5 best practices.
All right. Thank you so much. So start by selling and marketing where you're already known before you try to expand. If you have an account, if you have a beachhead at a particular agency, it's always going to be easier to sell where you're known. So you can find key influencers on LinkedIn by their agency or their office. Follow them, connect with them. Develop relationships and grow your knowledge base about that client. There are tons of places you can do research. Nicole mentioned them. Luann just talked about the OMB 53s. If they have a company page on LinkedIn, follow it. In all likelihood, they do, because I've identified more than 300 federal offices, cabinet departments, operating divisions, and smaller entities within agencies, over 300 that have company pages. But done well, ABM is a very proven, successful strategy for growth, especially for smaller contractors. Point 2 would be differentiate by your area of expertise. If you're a generalist, you're probably going to be treading water for a long time. So clearly enunciate your area or areas of expertise and document these on your website and your LinkedIn profiles. Smaller contractors should have no more than 3, preferably 1 or 2 major area of expertise. And again, highlight your experience here so people start giving you a little bit of credibility. We support this with content. And Luann touched on content, but you really need a content calendar so you're driven to post regularly. The content needs to be germane to your target audience and germane to your area of expertise. So once you have an initial piece of content, you can repurpose that into multiple formats. So a white paper can become a webinar, it can also become a LinkedIn post or an article. But do this because different people like different types of content. Not everybody is tactile. Some people want to listen, some people want to watch. But all content ultimately should be resident on your website, but shared via email, social, and however else you're reaching out. Social selling is something that I've been preaching for a while. I was actually preaching it before it had a name, but it's an adjunct activity to traditional sales and business development. It is not a replacement. Social selling tactics include things like commenting on posts, acknowledging promotions, new jobs, birthdays, pretty much any soft touch you can make to someone in your network to remind them that you're there and to keep you top of mind. Pardon me. It also includes your content sharing activities, which should be, somewhat regular. So your LinkedIn profiles need to be optimized, because if you start posting content and somebody comes back to see who's posting it, if there's nothing there that's really in detail about your company or your area of expertise, your credibility starts dropping. But it's social selling is engaging with your network in a series of soft touches and touch in a way that can invite a response. So I often take my social selling and create follow-up Zoom calls. This is a great way to get to know people better. Make time to, pardon me, make time to brainstorm with your peers on a regular basis. These can be people in your company, other outside experts similar to what you do, either consultants or people with similar position in other companies. But when you have a collaborative environment like a brainstorm session, more ideas are going to occur. So I have two 30-minute standard brainstorm sessions every week through Government Marketing University. Chris Parente, Janet Waring, and I head the ideation group, and we meet Tuesday and Friday mornings at 9 for 30 minutes. And I very much look forward to these. So those are my 5 tips.
Awesome, and great points as always. Also, why would you emphasize, or why do you emphasize LinkedIn so much?
Well, first of all, the market is here. It's the most underutilized marketing tool available in GovCon. There's 2.1 million feds that I can identify on LinkedIn with every federal agency present. I mentioned already that I've identified more than 300 company pages for federal agencies, operating divisions, and smaller activities. So you're able to identify key personnel literally wherever you need to. And most of what you can do here, you can do most of what you need to do here, you can do for free. You don't need Sales Navigator. You don't need to pay for a membership. There's a lot of things that you can do on LinkedIn that will help you grow your business.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us. Always appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay, Carol Bernard from Govology is with us as well. Carol, thank you so much for joining us, and I'd love to hear next about your best practices for marketing.
Hey, thank you for having me, and Happy New Year to everyone. Some great information and some great tips put out so far. So let me just jump right in. First of all, I want to say getting the facts. I know that this goes back to the market research, but I think that this is so important for people to be able to understand a lot of things that they need to do that's also unique and relevant to their journey, because every contractor is going to have a little bit of a different journey depending upon what they sell and who they want to sell it to. We hear kind of in the term marketing location, location, location. One of the facts I think it's really critically important to know is, like, where are your customers buying? So, are they going through the schedules? Are they going out through SAM? Are they, going out through the SBA, database to request a quote? Are they shopping on Amazon? These are really good things to know, which leads me to my second point, which is also to know your MVPs. My good friend and also a fellow Govology faculty member, Ms. Judy Bratt, talks about knowing the players at the layers. And I think one mistake that a lot of people make is that they're only trying to reach out and talk to the contracting people, contracting officers. I used to be a contracting officer myself, but also they're like reaching out to a lot of the OSDBUs. Those are great people to talk with, but also Mark Amtower just mentioned getting to know the influencers, and I wholeheartedly support that and say, hey, and this is what I'm talking about here as well, is just know how to go beyond the buyers and even beyond OSDBUs to connect with people that are the influencers. And maybe those are the program managers, maybe they're director of HR, what's their title, right? So these are the people that will be able to generate the requirements. Nothing gets purchased inside of the government until a requirement is generated, and the contracting people just become the processors of those requirements. But those are usually generated at the department levels, either by the department head, program manager, or maybe even the end user. So knowing your MVPs, the players at the layers, right, like Judy says, and being able to have great questions to ask them on where they're buying will help you position your product and do the right thing for marketing and sales. Continuously build your value in your product and your service. This is an ever evolving area. So as you start to have conversations with folks inside of the government and you start to see, where your product adds value, or maybe where it doesn't relative to your competitors or what the government's already buying. You can take that feedback back into your company and say, hey, where can we build more value and just continuously evolve, because ultimately the government wants best value. Number 4, ensure your products or services are properly positioned in front of your MVPs. That's going back, talking about that location. Again, where does the actually government buy? Too many people only rely on sam.gov, right? You kind of set their search agents and you watch, and there's no relevant opportunities. But there's a lot of things that happen outside of SAM. Again, there's micro purchases that happen in all kinds of different areas. And a lot of these things people don't even see because they happen outside of SAM. So look beyond SAM. Again, talk with your people inside of the agencies. Ask where are they purchasing the products or services that you sell. And then also have a foot in the door offer. Now, earlier, Candace came in and she mentioned that don't cut your price to get your foot in the door, and I agree with that. What I'm trying to say here is that have a foot in the door offer. So for example, if you have a product that sells at $50,000 or a service that sells at $50,000, can you come in and offer something at $5,000, so that when you start having conversations with the right people, maybe that turns into an easy buy. They don't have to compete it. They don't have to go through contracting. They just say, hey, let's give it a try. And a lot of times the government likes to try it before they buy it at a higher level with you. So this is a really great time to get your foot in the door, build a relationship, perform well, and then be poised for bigger and better things. So those are my 5 best practices.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carol. And how should a contractor get the facts they need to properly market and sell their products and services to government agencies?
Well, a lot has already been said about the market research, right? Inside of the data mining and USA spending has already been mentioned. I want to go back to one thing that is not talked about a lot, which is the qualitative market research. So you got quantitative and qualitative, quantitative being like crunching the numbers. That's really important. And I think it should be done, like Eileen said, before you go into ask your questions. But the gaps in what you're going to get from that data and the questions that you're going to develop is going to be really great questions to ask when you're talking to people. So this is the thing, again, going back to that, knowing the influencers and being able to ask the right questions of them is going to really help you out to get those remaining facts that's going to maybe fill in the gaps that some of the data doesn't always give you. And my last piece is I'll leave you with is just like, really, I believe if you really want more opportunities in 2022, have more conversations with the right people. That's it for me.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Carol. It's great to have you on our program today.
Thank you for the invite.
Okay, thanks. Next up, that rounds out this session, we've got Chris Brinker from Ocean 5 Strategies. They are also one of our sponsors today. Chris, great to have you with us today. Excited to hear your pieces here on 5 best practices for marketing to the federal government.
Great, thanks for having me, Jennifer. Just a background, Ocean 5, we create marketing strategies and campaigns and programs for government contractors. And our team has seen that focusing on the following practices leads to both increased win rate and business growth for our clients. So really the most important starting point is start with a plan. All of your marketing activities should be measurable and tie back to your business goals. I'm sure you guys have all heard the phrase "failing to plan is planning to fail." We do live by that. So in order to succeed, you really need to have a plan in place with a list of goals, objectives, and what you're going to measure. You need to know the right things to measure to make sure that your marketing dollars are giving you return on investment. We really have seen too many people that spend too much time measuring the wrong things. Secondly, the second point is use content and search engine optimization to attract, educate, and build trust and relationships with government decision makers. You've heard from from all three previous marketing experts. You know, we're all hammering on search engines and content and websites. And more government decision makers are using contractor websites and search engines to find, to research, and validate potential contractors and solutions. Remember, these decision makers are people, and people use the internet to do research. We also, Judy Bratt's a friend of ours too, and I love quoting her. She likes to say, there is no such thing as doing business with the federal government. You do business with people, with needs, fears, and priorities not found in a database. So remembering that. And then number 3, website content. Have all the basic information government decision makers expect to find, and quickly. Government decision makers and influencers are busy. Don't make them work. If they can't find what they need quickly, they will move on. We've actually created a checklist of the critical information government contractors should have on their website, as well as some common issues that can be working against them. And we're happy to share this list if anybody wants to reach out. And then that leads us to the 4th point about your website user experience. And that is to make sure that you're building a website that loads quickly and is easy to navigate. You don't want to make your visitors work. And then building that website that loads quickly, it also helps complement your search engine optimization. Slow websites are one of the key factors that Google looks at when actually rating and ranking your website. And then take a really hard look at your messaging. And you really need to get the messaging right. What is your differentiator? What problems do you solve? And messaging is not to be confused with content. And a lot of people get the two kind of intermingled and confused. Messaging is really, it's the core information that you want to share with your government decision makers. It's the foundation for your brand, and it should be incorporated into your content. So the content is the various forms of information on your website. It could be a white paper, a downloadable, these different resources. Your decision makers are consuming content online, so make sure that you've got the information that they came looking for, like white papers, blog articles, etc. So those are my 5.
Great, thank you so much, Chris. Great tips that you had there. And would you say our government decision makers really using my website and search engines to make buying decisions?
Absolutely. Websites have really evolved from just being an online brochure really into the primary source of information about your company, its experience, the executive team, partnerships, products, past performance, services. Government buyers, they have that list of things that they're expecting to see. And then a couple of statistics that we love, according to government research experts, 82% of federal decision makers rated search engine and contractor websites as their top rated sources for research. And 73% of those will actually download and share online content with colleagues and supervisors. So keeping in mind that your website really can be your #1 marketing asset, speaking for you when you can't, and make sure that it's communicating your brand and is the central hub really for your digital marketing program.
Super, those are great statistics. I'm sure people will take action based on those numbers, hopefully, to clean up their websites. So thanks, Chris. Great to have you on the program.
Great, thank you.
All right, and again, we want to thank all of our sponsors who have made today's presentation possible. And thanks again, everybody, and thanks to our sponsors.